remember me?
Welcome to the Mad Max Minute. Though I have to travel far, remember me each time you hear a sad guitar. In Mad Max Fury Road, 1 minute at a time, I'm Rick.
And I'm Julia.
And today we're talking about minute 105, which begins with Melita peppering Rictus with a blast from her shotgun, and it ends with the dad grabbing the bag of seeds from inside the rig. Here to wrap up the week with us as we bid a not-so-fond farewell to Immortan Joe are Nathan Porter and Jenny Rist.
Hey, guys.
Yo.
I will freely admit that I have never seen the movie Coco, and I'm actually a little surprised that Julia didn't call me out for quoting a movie I haven't seen.
I also have not seen it and had no idea what you were quoting.
I have seen the movie. It's a good movie. You should see it. And it's on Netflix. But I didn't recognize it as a quote from a movie. I just figured it was a quote from a movie that I had never seen.
You kind of called yourself out there, Rick.
Yeah, you would have gotten away with it.
I just wanted to let everybody know that I technically did get away with it.
That's fine.
What does getting away with it mean? Like,
that I didn't chastise him.
Yep.
do it now. Do it now.
I'll save my energies for when he quotes The Fugitive.
Yeah. For when I talk about people Peter Panning off of this dam right here.
Nope, not allowed.
Does he Peter Pan off a dam? I can't remember, because I've never seen the movie.
You know what? I'm not going to clarify that for you.
Will forever be a mystery.
Because he refuses to see the movie. Just out of spite now. It's a good movie.
Definitely done that, Rick.
Have you guys seen The Fugitive?
I have not.
I have also not.
What? It's a good movie. Oh my goodness. It's a good movie.
She's not going to let us leave until we've sat down and watched The Fugitive.
It's okay. She doesn't like watching Pacific Rim with me.
It's, what is it?
Independence Day with giant robots.
Yeah, exactly. It's Independence Day with giant robots.
Yeah, but not as good, because Independence Day is a really good movie.
Yeah, and also Will Smith gets to say, welcome to Earth, and they don't say that in Pacific Rim.
Because they were on Earth the whole time.
Earth.
Give you that.
I went and saw Pacific Rim with, like, the guys, because I just wanted to go out and do something. And they were going to see Pacific Rim, so I'm like, well, I guess I'm going to see Pacific Rim.
And then you were bored for 2 hours.
Yeah.
I appreciate your hesitation before just saying yes.
Because you want it to be wrong. Like, I wanted to like this for your sake. But it's just a bad movie. I'm sorry.
This is like the people calling out the new Godzilla movie for not having a deep enough story. It's Godzilla.
It's like, I'm sorry, did you walk into the movie where giant monsters fight each other and get upset because there were too many giant monsters fighting each other? This is like the people, I know I'm getting off topic, who walked into Snakes on a Plane, sat down and said, gosh darn it, there are just too many snakes on this plane. I don't like the movie. And I'm like, what did you expect? For people that bought a ticket to see the Harrison Ford movie Cowboys and Aliens, were there cowboys? Yes, there were. Were there aliens? You bet your ass they were. That movie delivered on every single promise in the trailer. And if you walk out of Cowboys and Aliens or Snakes on a Plane disappointed, it is your own goddamn fault.
Yeah.
That's a good point. The movie delivered exactly what it wanted to.
Yeah.
I saw no rims, and I saw a very small amount of Pacific. It was mostly just robots and sexism.
The Fugitive is about a fugitive. Just saying.
The whole time.
The whole movie.
The whole time.
Okay, if you're judging the quality of a movie based solely on how the title is, Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome is the best movie in the series of Mad Max movie because you have Mad Max and he goes beyond the Thunderdome.
I mean, this also, current movie that we are discussing,
Equally
Fury
good.
Road. The entire time they are on a road
And
of
they
fury.
are pissed
They
off.
are mad. There is never a point where people are not angry at all.
Yeah.
So
They are very literal with
well
the titling.
named.
Even
of
the
these
second
movies.
one.
Yeah.
Mad Max 2, The Road Warrior. It's about Mad Max. It's the second one in the series, and he is the Road Warrior. End of story. What else more do you need?
And even the first one, Mad Max.
Although-
Movie, guy named Max goes mad.
Yeah, but he only goes mad in like the last quarter.
It's fair.
That one, okay, we're on the fence for the first movie.
No, we're not. It's the best one.
The titling of the first movie.
Yeah.
Like, it should be called, like, How Max Went Bad.
Yeah.
Instead of just Max.
Max is no good, very bad, rotten day. Or something like that.
Well, that paints the whole following movies in a different light right there.
Yeah, it's like it needs a subtitle.
Why you don't mess with Mel Gibson's family in a movie?
Another reason.
Yeah. Like, let's be real. Being in Mad Max, setting up that type of story set him up for, like, so many more of his other movies.
It's like, oh, can we do Mad Max, but, like, let's make it snow this time.
Yeah.
Does there have to be so much sand? Can there be other things? No, there cannot be other things. All sand, all the time.
But you know what there can be? Blasts from a shotgun into a big old dude's head. Because that's how we start off minute 105, with Melita sitting on the tanker, and she takes a shot at
look
Rictus.
at that.
It peppers him something good.
That is just
We've
like
got some
marksman level right there.
Some back of neck, some head, and his lovely backpack rig of air tanks.
Yep.
And I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, that it's the backpack getting shot that really, like, catches his attention and really disrupts things.
Not the headshot?
I think
does he get shot in the head now that I'm looking?
Oh, yeah.
I feel like he got peppered all over his neck and head.
There's some good post-production dots.
I want to believe that Melita was using birdshot.
Oh, yeah. Oh, for sure.
Tiny pellets.
Yeah. Given that it does cause damage, but not, like, wholesale destruction.
Yeah.
And, well, I mean, we'd know if it was a slug.
Yeah, it reminds me of several years ago when the Vice President of the United States went quail hunting with his friend and shot his friend in the face.
Oh my God, I totally forgot about that.
I know. Yeah. Wasn't the Bush administration weird?
I just...
There was that time someone threw a shoe.
Yeah.
These were better times.
And we thought it would never get any weirder than that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's as political as our podcast.
Yeah, for a while, I think we thought that administration had like a fight club going on. Wow. What a simpler time.
Yeah. But I think Rictus initially reacts to being shot in the head. Like, he flails around a bit. But what really freaks him out is the fact that his backpack is going hog wild. And I love how we get another shot of Melita, and she kind of cocks her head to the side like, I guess that works. That's a pretty good shot.
I mean, it wasn't one shot, one kill, but with birdshot, you don't really expect one shot, one kill.
Yeah.
Unless you're shooting a bird.
Right.
Just a solid nod from her saying, like, yeah, that's what I wanted to do with that.
And besides,
I like how he like turns one way to look at his backpack and then turns the other way to look at his backpack as if he's going to see his back if he turns a different way, like a dog chasing its tail.
That's exactly what I thought of.
It's like,
what's going on? What's going on back there? What'd you say? Intelligence is capped at like a 10?
Yeah. Yeah, if we're talking about a D&D character sheet, his intelligence is below a 10.
I mean, he's clearly effective, but yeah. Didn't quite think this through.
I feel like that's the most accurate way we have been able to describe his intelligence. It's something we've kind of been struggling with the whole movie.
Yeah.
We've used terms like childlike or simple, but that doesn't really do the trick. He doesn't have the intelligence of a child. He just doesn't have full intelligence.
Limited. That is what we use to describe adults that just not all quite there with their common sense, or
they function,
but you're just like, oh, so you've just limited.
That is an excellent descriptor. Yes. Yeah. We should have had you on sooner.
Yeah.
I feel like we would have more insight into Rictus.
I unfortunately have a lot of experiences with limited adults, so I can tell you all about them.
Just wait, we're going to have like a phlebotomist on next week. We're going to be like, where were you when Max was being
I have thoughts about that.
That's right, because you have phlebotomy experience.
I definitely do. And
that's right. You were talking about that the
It's
other
not
day.
going to happen in this minute, but there's a minute
mad.
I was irate, and I will have to tell you off.
May I propose that after we're done reviewing this minute, we start a new recording, talk about the phlebotomy stuff, and you can like release it as something extra or tack it on the back end.
I might even just throw it into that episode. I don't know.
Yeah. That episode hasn't aired yet, has it?
Power of editing.
Yeah.
No, the scene that happens after this.
Yeah, that's the one that really made her angry.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Pissed.
Oh, yes.
So Max takes advantage of Rictus's frenzied state.
Yes, limited frenzied state.
Yeah, he flailed and presents Max with an interesting opportunity as the master of improvised weaponry that Max is, to be like, oh look, an air tank.
Yeah, so I have experience with tanks this size, and my experience is with oxygen tanks, and we don't really know the composition of this tank or what it's meant to hold. But if it is indeed an oxygen tank, they are dense, they are heavy, full or empty does not matter.
Now, when they have what looks like a hole in them, and the air is escaping them, does that make them, like, propel?
It would give them a certain amount of thrust.
Yeah.
But that's tanks that have been...
Like, pressurized.
Like, mechanically. We don't know the capabilities. Can they get up to those kinds of pressures that modern oxygen tanks get up to?
Well, I would say they can, for one big reason, dealing in this post-apocalyptic car world. Something's filling car tires with air. So they clearly have an air compressor system somewhere.
Well, we're not so sure about that.
Yeah.
We saw a tire get ripped open and had a steel frame underneath.
Really?
And the tire did not
I
deflate.
do remember that.
Was it a large tire?
It was. It was one of the front-ish tires on the rig.
I remember that too.
So Mack truck tires are different in that they have that framing and stuff like that.
Oh, okay, so that's normal for a Mack truck tire.
I would think so, that it has those...
A steel frame.
Yeah, but I think like a normal tire, they still have air in them to pressurize that system. So I would think that an air compressor is there because an air compressor ends up being a pretty simple mechanism once you hook an engine up to it. You know, it intakes air, pumps it in, same piston system, very much like an engine.
Now, I want to direct everybody's focus here to second 5 in minute 105. There are little plungers at the top of a pipe system that would pull air through the air filters attached to the rig, go down through this little angled joint, and there's a little pump here that would pump air down into the tank. So
it looks like a manual pump, right?
Yeah. So Rictus would have to sit there with his hands behind his head and just pump up and down.
Oh, he doesn't do that himself. He has people for that.
There is a warbot that comes up and goes, I'm going to pump you up, and pumps Rictus up before battle.
I like
that's
it.
Totally what happens.
Yeah.
I like it.
That definitely leads me, we've kind of gone back and forth about what's in those tanks. The cannula leads me to believe that it is oxygen. Seeing the rig in this way looks like it's just filtered air.
Yeah.
Having just filtered air going in via a cannula is not very effective. Filtered air really needs to go in through a mask, more like Joe's mask. It's a crappy system.
I wonder if instead this is a lot more like a sleep apnea mask. Like, it's just that he's not...
That's not a sleep apnea mask. Not even close.
No?
No,
He's not,
it's not even
no,
close.
It's not
there's
even
like
close.
a contraction. You look like space.
You look more like Joe.
Okay.
Joe is wearing
Yeah.
literally some of the tubing is sleep apnea tubing.
Okay.
So Joe is wearing more like a sleep apnea mask, more appropriate for the filtered air that he's breathing. But Rictus here is wearing a cannula, which is how you administer oxygen.
Yeah. Like when you see the old people out on their porch with their air tank and their cigarette, and they're yelling at you because you're driving too fast through the neighborhood. That's what they got.
They have oxygen.
Yeah. Which means they are going to blow themselves up.
In what neighborhood was that, Rick?
Just probably Southie. The last time I saw one of those people was in the Departed movie. So,
Oh my God.
Permanent association there.
yep.
I think I'm the only person on the planet who loves the Boston accent. Like, I love it. I think it's the cutest, like, sexiest thing.
I wish I had a better one.
I love it.
I posted on the Minute Maker Facebook page a while ago. Some website did a ranking of the sexiest accents. Boston came in second. What?
I went to Boston to go to PAX a few years ago, and I kept asking how to get somewhere, and the officer was like, you take the stairs. And I was like, where do I go? Where do I go? You over there, you take the stairs. I didn't hear I don't, those stairs or those stairs. I don't know.
Oh, you're all flustered.
I just kept asking where the stairs were. It was really fun for me. Yeah. I was single then, sweetie. It's okay.
Oh,
I could
totally
ask for
fine.
the
You
stairs.
can do it now.
Porter's
I'm just gonna laugh at you.
Porter's gonna be going home practicing his accent.
No.
The cat.
No.
Haven't yet.
No. We've established no accents to try to be sexy for this guy right here. It does not work out.
Oh boy. What the hell was that?
Oh my God, I have to tell you about that off camera. Keep going.
Okay.
Keep going.
Rejoining the action in minute 105. We find Furiosa hanging off the side of the Gigahorse, and we get this lovely little shot of Cheedo cowering behind the door, and we spin over and see Furiosa climbing along the side of the window, just trying to edge closer and closer. And Joe checks his mirrors, and he's like, oh, hey, there's someone hanging off the side there. That's going to be a problem. But we need to cut back to Rictus and Max. And Max is just, one good hit deserves another. He's just beating Rictus down mercilessly, which, good, if it keeps him from getting up, because Max is able to leave Rictus behind for a little bit to go get onto the Gigahorse finally.
Last minute, we were talking a little bit about how the Furiosa and Max fights are kind of mirroring each other. They're both being beaten up pretty good at the same time, and their fights also start to turn around at the same time. Mm-hmm. So we continue that mirroring. And I love that the mirroring has a goal. The goal is to bring them back together. And that's really mostly on Max's part. He is doing everything he can to get to her. It warms my heart.
Because Furiosa, she's not really concerned with Max. I mean, she's in her whole world of pain, and she's got her goal in mind. She's doing her thing. And Max is kicking some major butt, but just so he can get to her and help.
But I love that she's not looking back for the help.
Yeah.
Nope. No. She doesn't need it. She's going to do this all on her own.
She's going to try to do it all on her own. Whether or not he comes and helps her or not is irrelevant. She's going to keep going for it.
His main concern is that he knows that she's going to do that, and he knows that she is going to overextend herself, and she's not feeling well. I think that's what Cheedo said. She's not doing well, and Max is like, okay, she's going to literally kill herself through being over-the-top Furiosa.
And I don't think Max has any doubt that she will do it. As we see further on in this minute, he gets there just in time to help pick up the pieces. I think that's kind of what he was going for. She was going to keep doing her thing. She had her singular vision, and he just wanted to get there at some point.
I have some thoughts about what happens after she completes her goal.
Okay.
But so she's going up. She's spidering her way. She really is kind of Spider-Manning in that scene a little bit.
Yeah, I definitely have questions about literally how is she doing this? How is she accomplishing this?
Now
she's just inchworming her way because she's holding on to that handle, and so she's just kind of squirreling her way closer and closer to the window.
Yeah, with the torso strength that she totally has.
It's not like she was stabbed or anything.
Right, for sure.
I don't actually think she's all that much closer. Looking at second 14 with how far back on the window she is, I don't think she's necessarily any
If anything, she's further
along.
Back.
Yeah.
Is she going
she's
backwards?
Kind of lower and swung in more, maybe.
Yeah. And so, because she's there, Joe is going to lean out the window and try to shoot her, but that is Toast's opportunity to do something useful, grab his arm and pull him all the way back.
Which, once again, with his trigger discipline, you'd think this would have gone off by now.
Exactly. Right. And so Max makes it over the rig, lands on the bonnet there, catches himself on the engine, and scrambles back to his feet. And meanwhile, back in the Gigahorse, Joe delivers a mighty smack with the end of that barrel across Toast's face and gouges the side of her face.
Yeah, you see some blood fly with that pistol whip.
Yeah.
Julia, in this moment, it is not cold. Just like to point out.
Is it?
Well, I can still see them.
Yeah, but that's just normal,
that's natural shape.
Yeah,
they're not in detention.
They're not, it's not cold.
They're still distracting.
Yes. Oh, she doesn't like that.
Nope.
Furiosa does not like her friend getting smushed in the face.
Furiosa hates it when they mess with the wives, and so she takes this harpoon, jabs it through the window, knocks the gun out of Joe's hand, and hooks the end of the harpoon on his face mask, dragging him out the window to be eye to eye with her. And the only words that she has for him are, "Remember me?" And in the subtitles, there's a question mark. It's not a statement. It's not a play on the whole witness me thing that the War Boys do, where she's like, oh, when you get to hell, remember me. It's a in your face, do you remember me? I was one of your impurators type of thing. And now here I am killing you.
I don't love this line.
Yeah, any thoughts on it?
Well, because we have absolutely no backstory between the two of them, I have no idea why he would remember her or have any context of remembering her. So the line doesn't really do anything for me as a viewer because does he? Yeah. Does he remember her? I don't know.
I think the big question is, did he ever forget her?
I feel like there's a lot of implied backstory between Furiosa and Joe that we don't get in this, and hopefully they will make a prequel movie where we get to learn all about where she came from, how she got to be where she is. It takes a lot to be an Imperator, and she is the only female Imperator that we've seen. There's a story there.
Oh, yeah. The fact that she admits earlier in the movie that she's tried to escape several times, and this is the only time that it may have worked. Not escaped,
but also
but
that she's looking for redemption.
Yeah, there's definitely meat to her backstory. So this one particular line, there's nothing satisfying about it.
Joe begins this movie by saying, "My Imperator Furiosa." When the wives are taken, he's talking to Miss Giddy and he's like, where did she take them? Like, he's always been thinking of Furiosa throughout this entire movie, either giving her kudos before she goes against him or telling everybody to hunt her down as the movie goes on. And it's like, he never forgot her. Yeah. So I don't understand the whole remember me line. I don't get it.
I wish it was a play on the witness me thing. I would rather it be that.
Well, at least it would tie into something there. But right now, it echoes hollow because no one thought he had forgotten.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What if she had said, instead of remember me, she should have said, witness me? In the context of look at me getting the upper hand on you. Because the whole course of the movie has been, witness me, I'm going to Valhalla. Joe is the one who lets you into Valhalla. So part of the reason they yell witness me is for the other war boys to see them, but also part of the witness me is so that Joe will see them and recommend them when they get to Valhalla. So if she had said witness me instead of remember me, it would have been a play on that whole do you see me now type of thing.
I don't know. I find that mediocre.
He's you're going to...
That's right.
Yeah.
I would have liked that because when the war boys cry out, witness me, they are crying out. They want to be witnessed by as many people as possible. It boosts their stature. With her in this one-on-one with Joe, if she had said, witness me, it would have been just for him. You, in particular, I want you to see what I'm doing, and what I'm doing is killing you. And whatever she said here was always going to be something personal between the two of them. And Jenny's right. We don't know the backstory. We get a little bit from the comics. We know that there is a history, but we don't know enough, and especially just viewers of the movie, which is the vast majority of people just watch the movie, don't read the comics as well. They don't know that backstory.
Yeah.
So the great thing will be if they do a Furiosa movie and they tie that together and have that line make sense. That would be amazing.
That
if they can
really
somehow
would.
Set up that movie so that this line somehow makes sense.
Yeah, that it turns out to be a callback.
Right.
But as a singular climactic final line,
Yeah.
I think it falls flat.
Okay, I will say, I think it's in The Rock where Nick Cage makes some sort of reference to the Elton John song Rocket Man before he launches a rocket into a guy's sternum and like blasts him off to explode. That was pretty bad. This is better than that. But I will say that this is probably not as good as in the movie True Lies, where Arnold Schwarzenegger has the terrorist hanging by the cruise missile and turns to him and says, "You're fired." And then he launches the cruise missile and blows up the guys in the helicopter. Like, this is not a Schwarzenegger level burn before a kill.
No.
It's supposed to be emotional, and that's what makes it so much more disappointing that it's not.
With a line like this, it needs to tie back to the relationship between Joe and Furiosa, and
we don't know what that is.
The general consensus among us is that that's not the case, and it bums me out.
In general, throughout the movie, I have found Furiosa to be a very, very sober, very internal, very meditative. When she speaks about things that aren't happening right now, when she's not talking about strategy or defense or whatnot, when she's talking about her own history, she's very...
It's like clipped. It's very like short and abrupt.
She keeps things very close. So I would assume that personality trait is carried over into this, which tells me this has to mean more to her. And it's disappointing that we don't understand that, because we want to. Mm-hmm. We want to understand Furiosa. We have been getting to know her in the limited way that she has allowed us to. We want more. We want so much more. And even in this last moment, it's like teased.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's get into the gruesome part, though.
Let's
I'm
get
scared.
gross.
So Joe, hearing this, roars at her, full on shouting as loud as he can type of thing. And through the mask, it sounds like some sort of animal roar, and he's right up in her face, squinting and all that other stuff. And Furiosa, in her mechanical hand, just lets go of the cord that's attached to the harpoon, and that cord gets sucked up into the tires, and we get Kool-Aid Man, oh yeah moment, where bone and blood and viscera are torn free from Immortan Joe's face, exposing the gaping maw where his jaw used to be, and you can see like his nose is torn away and his upper lip. I called it on Wednesday an improvised mandibulectomy, which is the removal of one of the mandibles in the jaw.
Now, would that kill you?
Now, I'm also trying to figure out, how was this mask that attached to his face?
Right? These are questions I have had for 105 minutes.
Well, when we were talking about it yesterday, we were like, maybe it like went into, like, maybe it was like a trachea thing where it like went in down his throat and somehow had something to do with like into his lungs. Because if that's the case, if it was just like internal and you rip the whole thing out and you're pulling out lung matter,
Too
lung
fast.
tissue,
It's gonna detach stuff.
well, it'll, yeah. Oh, wow. Look at that freeze frame.
Oh yeah, right at second
That's
25.
something.
That's pretty clear.
So, I mean, so what we're seeing here, these injuries, these facial injuries, would not necessarily be instantaneously death. You're not going to have instantaneous death by just having your face ripped off.
I mean, we're looking at the screenshot right now, and Rick has beautifully grabbed this gore on screen for us.
Sweet Lord.
So his lower jaw is gone, but it's also torn down his turkey waddly neck. So it's definitely lending itself, I feel like, to your
my theory.
tube down the throat.
Yeah.
With the way it's
To
kind
my
of
my trachea
split
theory.
his neck open.
Yeah.
Is that his tongue?
Yes.
Yeah, that's his tongue. That's
Yeah.
his tongue right there.
Which again would lead to, because your tongue would get pushed out of the way if you're pulling up things that go into your throat. So if he had like a trach tube and it was pulled out too quickly and it yanked out, it would yank out lung or like
Tissue. Internal things
like
would then
things
become
that,
external.
Things that you need to breathe and stuff.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's my guess.
So
that's my educated guess.
So
He
I
also
have
took his front teeth.
I have a question though.
Or maybe you never had them.
How many of these injuries that we are seeing were already there that were
True.
being covered up by the mask?
True.
Specifically, he is missing a good portion of his nose and like cheek tissue, and the front teeth are gone as well. I'm suspecting that some of that stuff was already there.
Otherwise, why would he wear the mask in the first place?
Yeah, especially if he needed things to be going down his throat for breathing or feeding.
Right. Right. Oh, that's the other piece. It could be
And
feeding.
he has facial
lungs.
deformities.
Yeah.
Then that would explain the level of masking that he was doing. But he was also talking pretty clear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He has no problem talking.
But we don't know what that mask was like on the inside.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we don't know what kind of
Darth Vader-esque sound capture system.
I mean, even if he had palate issues like that, which is entirely plausible, the mask could have corrected some of that. So that, like, say for instance, he was missing a bottom jaw. If he had essentially an implant, that's what that mask was. That would make it so that your tongue had a base to sit on to be able to, speak clearly.
I think that's his lower jaw on the lower of his screen.
Oh, the thing that got ripped off there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
like
Yeah.
this like whitish
Just looking at some bone and viscera. No worries.
stuff.
This is great.
Yeah.
As someone who's seen their own collarbone, I'm good with this.
Yeah.
Now, while I agree that this injury probably wouldn't kill Joe right out, what I believe it would do would put his body into shock, and then he would drown in his own blood.
That's true.
That's fair, because there's nothing to prevent all of that gore and blood from just literally drowning him in his seat.
Yeah, he can't swallow with his face like that. That does not lend the ability to swallow.
Please tell me this is the cover art you'll post for this episode on Instagram.
Oh, I've already picked the cover art for this episode, and it's specifically the one with Furiosa and Joe eye to eye. I will not be subjecting our Instagram followers to this level of gore.
You can
Just
see this
us.
on Patreon.
Yeah. All right, and then we watch the whole thing. Just
And it
Bye-bye,
takes Furiosa's
face.
arm, too.
Not
Not her good arm.
Takes her
her mechanical arm.
tears it right off, and the look on her face of, oh, look, there goes my arm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
not
I
expect
kind
that
of
to
missed
go.
the moment where her arm got in a position to be taken.
Well, it was gripping the harpoon, so if the harpoon rips off and then the hooks go down and grab the mechanical hand, it would then just take the rest of the arm with it.
Okay. So how on earth did it just not take her with it?
Well, it's because the straps were already strained from holding on to Max. It was connected enough that she could use it, but not connected enough to withstand the forces pulling on it from the tires.
Yes, back when she was holding on to Max, we saw one of the leather straps snap.
Yep. So it was not in the best condition going into this fight.
No. So I think the same stab that almost killed her helped to save her life.
Yeah. Otherwise, she probably would have been pulled off the side of the
Right.
Gigahorse.
Yeah, because that's a couple straps down. Holding Max, getting stabbed,
Yeah.
that kind of weakened the whole system.
Mm-hmm.
So she needed a new one anyway. So this is fine.
Yeah.
This is fine.
She needed an excuse to go out and get a new one. This is the situation that allowed her to do that.
Yeah, definitely.
And after all of the action is done, Max finally shows up.
Look, he made it. And his face is like the sad puppy who just
More eye acting. Look at him. Wow, those are some...
He's like, hold on, I got you.
Yeah, he has this first sad look that he missed out on the action, but then this look of surprise of, oh wait, you're gonna fall on the tire, let me lend a hand.
Yep, and he pulls her up from the side of the Cadillacs there, and she's like, this is not comfortable for me.
I love the way he just scoops her up like that. He just reaches down and he saves her, and I love it. It feels so teamy. He couldn't be there to help her do it because he just couldn't get there.
Yeah.
But he's going to help now that he's here.
The best people lift others up.
True story.
The Robin to her Batman.
Yep. And so with Joe dead, Toast is very quick to act. She reaches over, grabs the steering wheel, presses on the accelerator. That way the whole thing doesn't go out of control. I don't remember if I brought this up in past episodes. Have I ever mentioned that the backstory for Toast is that she was taken from the wasteland as an adult?
Yes.
Okay. I'm pretty sure I've mentioned that. Yeah.
So that's why she seems a bit more savvy when it comes to guns and whatnot.
And why she can
Drive a car.
grab the steering wheel and know which pedal to press. And
Because early on with the tanker, I mean, one of the big things was, well, Max or Furiosa can drive, that's it. Sorry. No one else knew how to drive or do anything.
yeah. Toast probably knows how to grab a steering wheel and what pedal to press. That might be the extent of her driving knowledge, because when you're out in the wasteland, you might not get an opportunity to go through a whole driver's ed course. You might just know what's going on by watching other people do stuff.
I do want to note that she has muscle memory because she has gone further into the driver's seat in order to get her right leg to the pedals, when it would be easier to use her left leg. But you try driving with your left foot.
Yeah.
It's odd.
You have no earthly idea where anything is.
Right.
Do you like driving barefoot, though?
I do like driving barefoot. I drive barefoot sometimes on my way home from work.
I drive barefoot a lot.
Is the Gigawagon an automatic?
I don't believe so.
But at this point, how much shifting are you really doing?
But I
I'm
think the
thinking, like,
shifter
Get in
is
fifth, stay there.
I don't think the shifter goes through the floor. I think you can see
No, you see...
that little silvery thing here at second 33.
Okay, but I'm
Yeah.
like, where is that on everything? Because, I mean, clearly this is a bench seat, and if she's able to scoot over and get on the accelerator...
I think there's a box.
Oh, it could have been hidden out of frame.
Yeah, we're pointing to it on screen. This is great podcast content.
Yeah.
See how there's a weld over here, and then a box, a dark box, that extends up here. And so the gear shifter is going down through this welded box
sadly,
into the console.
Sadly, there's no clutch pedal in the shot for me to tell.
Yeah. This is also a massive vehicle made out of 2 Cadillacs on top of monster truck tires. So, I mean...
I care about these things.
Yeah. I appreciate your eye for detail. And so, getting back into it, Max flops into the back of the Gigahorse with Furiosa in his lap, and she is so done with all of this. She is tired.
She's got nothing left. She gave it all for that moment, and the tank is empty.
And cutting back inside the Gigahorse, Toast turns to Joe and just gives him a disdainful spit in his face, because she does not like him at all, for very obvious reason. And it's at this point, 40 seconds into the minute that everything slows way down.
I was very happy at this point in the movie.
Like the music drops out and everything just becomes a bit more thrumming.
I could breathe. Yes. It
Yeah.
was a very like, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
The cars don't feel like they're going as fast.
And they were. Like, nothing actually slowed down, but just the pacing of the actual movie itself slowed down enough for you to, like, process all of the things that just happened in a very short amount of time. Yep. Super essential. Also, so I wanted to tell you, Julia, that, like, when we were talking about them teaming up earlier and how Furiosa was just, like, she had a goal in mind. Like, she had a goal. And her goal was to kill Joe. Like, that's her goal, right? So she gets up and she kills Joe. So at that point, it's not that it was sacrificial. Like, she wasn't trying to fall off the side of the car, but I think that she would have been okay if she did. So, like, the fact that Max was able to come in and scoop her up just allows her to, like, carry on with her story. But I don't feel like she needed to in that moment. So, again, that leans on that fact of, like, she didn't need Max. She would have been totally fine if she had killed Joe and then just been like, whatever, I did my thing, like, I'm good.
Peace out, guys, I'm done.
Right. So not like I'm gonna be like suicidal about all this, but I love that dynamic of teaming and not that dependence on having Max save her for whatever reason. I really liked that a lot.
Yeah. Do you think that Furiosa could have successfully gotten the wives to the green place that didn't turn out to be the green place without Max? If Max hadn't stumbled upon them, do you think she would have made it to the Vuvolini?
No, I don't think so.
She needed someone else who knew how to fight off the Rock Riders.
Mm-hmm.
I find that I'm not sure how to feel about that.
Well, it's hard because it's hypothetical. Like, we don't know because all we know is that how it's
disappointing because we tout this movie as it's a story about women who are taking control over their lives and are making things happen. But then you throw Max in there and you're like, oh, well they needed a man to come in and save them.
No. So that's not what I meant by that. I meant more in the way of, like, he did show up, and so therefore they were able to utilize him in a different way.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like, I don't know. What if... what's his name? Nux, he would have been dead without Max. So technically speaking, they would have been at that spot where they're rinsing off and all that jazz, and there wouldn't have been anybody to interrupt that. So they could have rinsed off and done all that jazz and then got back in the car and kept going. So that pit stop that they had with Max wouldn't have existed in the first place if he was there. So it's like, I don't know.
Yeah. Max's masculinity is not what saves them.
No.
Because Furiosa would have gotten through the sandstorm. They would have stopped to rinse off and get the dust out of the engine. They would have gone into the canyon. And when they got into the canyon, Joe would have called in his war parties, and we would have gotten back into the situation with the Rock Rider chief where he would have been like, you said maybe a few pursuit vehicles, but I count all these war parties. And so Furiosa wouldn't have been able to get to the other side of the war rig to avoid the gunpowder, get back up into the rig, do the starting sequence, and get out of there in time for her to avoid the Rock Riders and avoid the war party. Max just needed to be a body to get that thing rolling.
But now that we know that Toast can drive...
Well, like I said, I think she can pantomime the motions of driving. Like, she knows two things. You turn the steering wheel and you press on the gas.
I think that's all you would have needed to know to get out of that situation, though.
No, there's the whole starting mechanism to get the rig going. And not to mention, it is a heavy-duty stick shift with a nitro-powered engine.
Yeah.
It's a bit more complicated. And air brakes.
Yeah.
You just said a bunch of stuff.
Yeah. Like, one of the advantages that Toast has in this situation is that the Gigahorse is already moving and at speed. She doesn't have to worry about shifting or changing anything. She can just maintain.
Right.
And as far as if she were responsible for stopping it, which I can't remember what happens, all you gotta do is hit on that brake and you're gonna stall the engine if you don't push in the clutch. Well, then you got a dead engine and you just coast to a stop. Keep it under control and eventually you'll stop.
I don't think that Furiosa necessarily needed Max specifically. I think what Furiosa needed was more people.
Correct.
To make, like, teamwork makes the dream work is the secondary theme of this movie.
Right. Kind of is, though. Like, and like you said, it's not the masculinity. It could have been one of the members of the grandma ladies, because I can't remember the real names of things. But yeah, it could have been anybody. It could have been, any gender, any person who knows how to drive a truck. Mm-hmm. She needed a truck driver.
And that's definitely what she got. Max has a brand of emo about him that has been running these movies since the beginning. The level of heartache that he has experienced, the loss and the tragedy, has turned him to a very specific type of person.
He's got those feels.
He does. And he also has skills. So I think they needed both of those things.
And let's just say that Furiosa had gotten through the canyon, through the night bog, because the bog at night, having Nux there, turned out to be very helpful because he came up with the idea of wrapping the line around the tree. They weren't doing that before he suggested it. And I'm not saying that no one would have come up with it, but having 3 people that were able to troubleshoot their way through that situation, especially with Max being all like, I'm just going to go kill the bullet farmer real quick. If I'm not back in a while, you guys just keep going. Like, that was incredibly useful to them. Mm-hmm. But if they had gotten through all of that with just Furiosa and, we'll say, all 5 wives would have made it in this situation, they would have hopped on those bikes, loaded up as much supplies as they could, and just gone off into the salt. Mm-hmm. And who's to say what would have happened after that?
One of the interesting trends in all of these movies is kind of how Max comes up against people that might not necessarily be as capable as him in the Wasteland. And the fun part about this movie is he finally got to meet up with people that are just as capable, or if not more capable than him in the Wasteland. And that's what really, I think, gave them that awesome dynamic, was like, finally Max had someone he didn't feel like that he could, pull the wool over on, or they were, pacifists, or...
Well, she could also hold her own, so he wasn't constantly having to save her, because... She was
looking back at the last couple movies. What did Max end up doing? Is
babysitting.
Yeah, and this time he didn't have to do that, and it was great.
So, getting back into the minute, we see Cheedo pop up on the back of the Gigahorse, and she informs everybody in the war rig that, quote, he's dead, and I repeat, he's dead.
Is he?
Oh, he's dead.
I mean, like, right now, has he already achieved death?
I mean, he'll be stone dead in a moment.
I'm surprised that they don't just open the door and just kind of shove him out.
Well, they've got to save him for the object lesson later.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's necessary. Right.
Absolutely necessary. You got to have a flair for the dramatic.
Right. Right.
The incredible edible dictator.
The expression that we get from the people in the war rig, the DAG is...
Space cadet?
Just wide-eyed space cadet. Capable seems to have it slowly dawning on her that, oh, wow. And then Nux is like, oh, wow, okay, I saw my God King fail yesterday or the day before or whatever it was. Now the guy that I worshipped for all of my life is now dead just like any other mortal man. Wow, that's craziness.
So have to rethink a little bit of his ideology right there.
Yeah, he needs to go home and rethink his life. He needs to stop selling death sticks in a Coruscant cantina.
At least I know you've seen that.
I feel like this really was like the final step of his
evolution.
Yes. I think that allows what's going to happen down the road.
So
solid pun there.
Jillian wastes 0 time in getting a move on. She climbs out the side of the war rig and the DAG climbs out the top because they realize that it would be better for them to get off of the war rig and into the Gigahorse and just leave everybody else behind as opposed to trying to get both vehicles out of there. Plus, the whole idea was to detach the tanker and block off the pass anyway. So if they can just take the nice vehicle and wreck the old one, like have Nux do some crazy pedal work or something like that, awesome. Great. Do that.
Yeah. One of those times where putting all the eggs in one basket is a good call.
Yeah. Speaking of eggs in baskets, the DAG turns around and reaches down through the moonroof because there is a bag of seeds that she should hold on to because it pretty much represents hope for the future. I think that's the metaphorical reason for us carting it around.
I mean, it's kind of why they were going back to this place anyways, so they could go and use the water and the fertile soil to grow crops. That's why they decided to make this helter-skelter run back to the Citadel.
Well, I think it's also like those two had a connection, And it was, they had that conversation about like, these are the things that I hold on to. So I think she kind of grabbed it as kind of a way to give some homage to grandma lady.
Yeah, the keeper of the seeds.
Yes. So it was just like, hey, you're not coming with us, but you are at the same time.
And there's a lovely moment that we don't get to see in this minute, but it will be like first thing on Monday, where the Dag will stop and she'll put her hand on the windshield to just say goodbye to the keeper of the seeds before she completely abandons ship. But it's nice that the Dag found something else to be her thing. Before they met the Vuvolini, the Dag was just the mouthy one who had all the snide comments and mean things to say.
Hey, she was the master of slang out of the group.
Yeah, she was throwing shade like no one's business. And as soon as she met the keeper of the seeds, her demeanor changed. She got a new outlook on things. She was all like, oh, this baby inside me is going to be Warlord Jr., going to be so ugly. And the keeper of the seeds like, well, it could be a girl. And the Dag is just like, didn't even think of that before. Mind blow.
She got given a little bit of hope.
Yeah. And that pretty much brings us to the end of Minute 105 and this week in general. Porter, Jenny, is there anything you want people to check out on like the internet or anything like that? Anything you would plug?
I'm just a simple white girl. I just have Instagram where I take pictures of my makeup. It's really not that interesting. But Nate's really cool. The tagline is, I make stuff and I get tattoos. So his Insta is the stuff he makes and the tattoos he gets. So that's pretty cool. You should check that out.
It's a solid description of what I do.
Yeah,
if you
he
wanna
delivers
check it
on this premise.
Yeah.
I was going to say, match the title, match the tagline. It's at NR Porter if you want to see some of the stuff I'm crafting in my wood shop or tattoos I'm getting at Dark Mark Tattoo down in Keene, New Hampshire.
Oh, yeah. Nice plug.
What's the Instagram for the tattoo artist that you have?
I go to a lot of different tattoo artists down there, but the shop can be followed at Dark Mark Tattoo if you want to check out what they're doing.
Excellent. What else? It was Dark Omens on Amazon.
Good Omens.
Good Omens. Okay, yeah, they don't need our help, but hey,
So good.
you recommend it.
If someone wants to make a minute of that, I think we could have a lot of fun just talking about David Tennant for several episodes and Michael Sheen. So worth checking out.
As for us, we will be coming back on Monday when the Vuvolini and the wives get onto the Gigahorse. Rictus will return to wreak more havoc, and Nux is going to get hit with the realization that he probably won't be getting out of this chase in quite the same way that everybody else is.
The Mad Max Minute podcast is a fan project by Rick and Julia Ingham.
The Mad Max franchise was created by George Miller and Byron Kennedy, is presented by Kennedy Miller Mitchell Productions, and distributed by Warner Brothers.
Mad Max Minute is produced and edited by Rick Ingham. Our opening music is Verdi's Dies Irae by Daniel Bautista of danielbautista.com.
Our home on the internet is madmaxminute.com. You can follow us on Twitter at madmaxminute, like us on Facebook by searching for Mad Max Minute, and join our Facebook listener group, Mad Max Minute Beyond Microphone.
If you'd like to support the podcast, visit madmaxminute.com, where you can see what's in our TeePublic store, join our Patreon, or even donate to the show to help us keep the tanks full.
Thank you for joining us for Minute 105 of Fury Road. We'll see you next time.